I was living in San Francisco and Matt was living in LA.
We use the bike to drive down the road and scope out a campsite.
On this side too is our shower area.
This is one of the best designed areas in this trailer.
Hi, I'm Amanda Winther.
And I'm Matt Swartz. And this is our 2012 Airstream International, and we live in it full-time on the road. All right, so welcome to the inside of the trailer here. We'll start off by showing you the living room and dinette area, which is right behind me. So we've got a lot of seating here, which is wonderful, you know, when we have guests, but it's also nice when we're here just by ourselves. We've got plenty of space to stretch out. We've got this dinette here, which converts into a bed if we want to have some guests, which we've done. We had my family come and visit us. These cushions are all kind of have Velcro to keep them in place when you're driving around and pulling the trailer, and they all rearrange to form a nice couch. This over here pulls out and becomes a bed, and then we have storage underneath all of the bedding and dinette area here. So we've got, you know, little things tucked here and there. There's also a vent down underneath here for hot air from the furnace when we've got that on when it's cold. And then obviously, as you can see, this is one of our favorite things about the Airstream, all of this glass. So we have great views of whatever area that we're boondocking in, plenty of light, which is really nice. You know, we like to have natural light in here. One thing about the Airstream that we also really like is actually manages temperature pretty well without any changes to it. We don't have any insulated window covers. We do have some pull down covers which help block the light, you know, if you want to make it a little bit darker in here, but we don't really have any thermal covers for the windows or anything like that. And it usually stays very comfortable in cold environments in here when we have the furnace on. And you know, even in warm environments, it's pretty great. When you open the windows, they open pretty wide, and we can open the two windows over here as well as this big back window, and then we'll open the door as well. And the cross breeze that you get keeps it pretty comfortable in here, especially we've got this roof fan too. So if you turn on the roof fan and you have everything opened up, it does a pretty good job. Now, I won't say it's perfect in every environment. You know, last summer we were in Oregon when that heat wave came through, and that was a little much for this. We do have an air conditioner in here, which is another one of the nice upgrades over our last vehicle. So if we really need to cool it off in here, we can. Right behind me, we've got one of the kind of main storage areas over the dinette here. It's got these sliding doors on it, and you know, this is one of the things about the Airstream. We really love the Airstream. It's got lots of space for comfort, but it's a little limited on storage space for full timing, which is something that we've just gotten used to. You know, we lived in a vehicle before, so we've kind of learned to downsize our belongings and not need as much. But basically up here we have books, we have cords for charging devices, we've got shopping bags, we've got all sorts of random stuff up here that we use. Pretty much we reserve this for things we use on a somewhat daily basis, just because it's one of the most easy storage areas to access. So over here you'll notice we have like a little head unit like you'd have in your vehicle, and this was installed in the trailer when we bought this. So we actually have speakers mounted under here and also in the bedroom, so we can play music in the trailer. It's kind of nice. And then over here we have some electrical outlets. We have a 12-volt outlet and then some AC outlets. So now you're over by the entryway, and I'm sitting over here on the couch, and we've got the dinette right here. Amanda and I are both digital nomads, so we both work remotely. And so the dinette and the living room area ends up being a workspace, probably one of its primary functions. It's workspace, eating space. So a lot of times we'll both set up over here on the dinette, plenty of space for us to both work together and plug into our Goal Zero, which we have under the dinette here. But we also have a standing desk that is stowed underneath the couch over here, which our friend Stacy from Tin Can Adventure kind of turned us on to. It's a little hack. It's some IKEA stuff that we kind of screwed together. And so we can take that standing desk out and set it up right here in the corner. So that way one of us can be sitting over here at the dinette and the other can work on the standing desk. It's kind of nice just to, you know, mix things up. And it is a small space, so it's always great to be able to give each other a little bit more room. We've been in the trailer for seven months or so, and it's worked really well for us with what we do on the road. We really, our working needs are minimal. We have a laptop and maybe some notes, but we don't have a lot of equipment for working. So For our needs, this space has been great. It hasn't felt cramped. I really appreciate the versatility of the dinette, the fact that we can break it down and turn it into a bed for guests or a couch, but it's also a nice big surface we're working on or eating on, which I think is crucial. I mean, one of the things I've learned that's most helpful for people who do remain in a full-time working capacity while they're on a road is to have a dedicated workspace and not something that you have to set up and break down every day, even if you're not moving. And so for us, we can just leave our computers here, leave our work stuff here, and it's just ready to go. And it just saves us time. You know, it makes starting work and getting to work easier for us every day. For our needs, this has been perfect. I don't think I could ask for much more in a mobile office.
As far as how we got into this lifestyle, we actually both grew up in the same town and then met at Burning Man. I was living in San Francisco and Matt was living in LA. At Burning Man, within a week, I had asked Matt to come, if he wanted to come backpacking with me in South America.
That was a really easy decision for me.
And so we went to South America for about 3 months together and then came back and were long distance. Matt ended up moving to San Francisco. There's a lot of great things to say about San Francisco, but both of us wanted something different. And I think with our relationship starting backpacking, this like moving into a nomadic lifestyle into our first vehicle felt like a pretty obvious choice in some ways.
It was also, I mean, like a lot of people experience partially a financial decision. You know, it was something we wanted to try. When we kind of did the math, paying San Francisco rent and both being freelancers was really just like a hard pill to swallow. And just with some short discussions, we were like, oh, it would actually be pretty affordable to live out of a vehicle. And we didn't, you know, our first vehicle was like under $10,000. And so if you do the math, we lived in that for 3 years. That's a pretty cheap way to live. And it was great. We had so much fun. You know, we traveled all over North America and went to a lot of places that we'd never been before that we wanted to go to, met some really fantastic people. We just had a blast. All right, so now we're in the kitchen area of the Airstream. And this is, I think, in my opinion, this is one of the best designed areas in this trailer. As is. We haven't really changed anything except for the wallpaper that we added ourselves here for a little bit of a style. So the wallpaper that you see right here is from this online retailer called Spoonflower. It was pretty easy to find. They just had a lot of really cool prints. This was actually like a long process. Amanda and I spent, I think, like multiple sessions over a course of days going over and like reducing our top choices down to a select few, and I won out. She wanted something a little bit simpler, and I was like, no, we got to go with something bold. So we got this, and I thought it was going to be a little bit easier to install. And to be honest, it was kind of tricky to get it into some of these curved spots. And if you look closely, you can see it's like not perfect. But yeah, as far as the kitchen, it's really well designed in the Airstream. It's a great amount of space. We've got a good amount of counter space here. There's a cutting board that sits in the sink here, so you get working surface where the sink is if you want it to prep vegetables or any other food that you're preparing. The sink is actually a great size for actually doing dishes. You know, it's plenty big. It's nice and deep. It's like maybe 8 inches deep, which is great. In our first vehicle, we had a 2-basin sink, which we thought would be valuable to us, but it ended up just being weird. The 2 basins individually felt too small. It was just never really easy to do the dishes that we needed to. But here, this is nice and big to work in. One of the other little additions that we made is we added this low flow nozzle to the faucet from Altered Company, I believe it's called, and it gives you like a mist, so it reduces your amount of water flow by up to 95%, I think. Between that little change to the water and just being, you know, conservative with how we use our water in here, we usually get like a week to maybe a little bit more than a week out of a full tank if we're being really cautious. And that's with doing dishes on a daily basis, but maybe not necessarily using the shower. The shower does use a lot more water. So we do the Planet Fitness thing. We both have memberships, and we'll go and shower at the Planet Fitness when we can instead, just because that's probably the single biggest use of water in here if we were going to use that on a daily basis. The oven and the range here, we've got a 3-burner propane range and then a propane oven down below. Our last vehicle came with an oven installed. We actually removed it because we thought we wouldn't use it that much and we needed the storage space in that vehicle. But in this one, we decided we want to leave it, and we actually use it all the time. We roast vegetables, we'll bake things, we'll make brownies, we'll make muffins. It's actually been really great, and it gives you this feeling of being in like a more traditional home, a little bit more than a vehicle, I think, being able to bake stuff in an oven. And it just makes the space smell really nice when you're making brownies or something in here. There's a cover over the range that can fold down for while you're traveling. Around the oven, we have some storage space. So we have like dry goods and cans stored down here. We've got 3 drawers next to the oven for utensils and things like that. Above the range, you can see here we've got a little vent hood. It's also got a light under here, which is really nice, so you can see what you're doing in the morning or in the evening. We have some AC outlets over here. We also have our systems monitor over here. So this is where we can see the status of our vehicle batteries. We can see our water tanks, our gray water tank, black water tank, fresh water tank. Moving up here above the hood, we've got some additional overhead storage, kind of the same style we had over the dinette. We've got these sliding doors. And we keep our dishes up here. We keep some food storage containers, some chips, kind of bulky items that don't really fit well anywhere else fit great overhead. Back here next to the range, we've got this little custom utensil storage that I built here. One of my few additions so far. And that just kind of keeps things that we use frequently out and available when we're stationary. In this wall here, we've got some cool storage. We've got a kind of a pantry / spice rack. So this pulls out here, and you can see we've got our spices and all sorts of things that we use pretty frequently for cooking or eating on a daily basis get stored in here. And then above that, we've got some additional storage. We keep a pan for roasting vegetables up here. We keep a colander, cookbook, some things like that. And then even behind that, we have a divider that can slide out of the wall to close off the bedroom if you want some privacy in the morning or in the evening. Underneath the sink, there's actually quite a bit of storage. These 2 doors open nice and wide. We keep the trash under there and a few other things. And then on the end of the counter, we have this workspace extension, which we'll fold out and usually put our dish drying rack here. So now we're here in front of the refrigerator. This is one of our absolute favorite things about the Airstream. We have a much larger refrigerator than we used to have in our camper van. We've got a freezer where we can keep a lot of things like meats and, frozen fruit for smoothies, things like that. We can make ice too, which is really great. And then down here, we've got this nice big refrigerator with lots of space for stuff, which is fantastic. This cuts down on the frequency of trips to the grocery store, which is really nice. This is a 2-way fridge, so it is propane most of the time, or if we have a shore power hookup, it will run off of AC. It's probably one of the other things that we would change about this trailer down the road. When this fridge is ready to be replaced, we'll probably put a 2-way DC AC, just because these days fridges are so efficient. You can easily run one off of DC from a solar power system, and then we can still benefit from running it from shore power when we have it. But it does use a good amount of propane, so that would be one of those things we'd like to change for the future. Above and below the refrigerator, we have dry goods storage. So up here is kind of like the coffee area. It's important to have adequate storage for your coffee. So we like to dedicate an entire drawer to it. And then below we have some nuts and dried fruit and things like that. Over here you can see some more of our handiwork. We added wallpaper on this side as well, and we added our little boho chic word board over here. So you can see, welcome to the Superstition Mountains. That's where we are. And then obviously the felt hat. Can't be a digital nomad without one of those. Last thing in the kitchen, overhead, we've got the air conditioning unit right here. So when we're plugged into shore power and we have 30 amps, we can run the air conditioner if we need, and it's got a bunch of little vents on here so you can kind of channel where the cold air goes, but that can make it really comfortable in here. It is a little noisy, but when it's 100 degrees outside, it's totally worth it. Actually moved to Denver, and we lived with Amanda's sister for a year and a half, and that was a great experience. And after being in a 18-foot RV for 3 years full time, it was great to have like a house with running water, and I should say have as much running water as you need, you know, like you can take a shower every day, you can cook in your kitchen, all
A
the
bath.
things, yeah, take a bath, all the things that we missed on the road, we kind of got to indulge in again. And that was wonderful. But then COVID happened and we both sort of switched to remote work around that time. And it was then that we started thinking about getting on the road again, just wanting that freedom to travel. So we started debating, should we get back on the road again? How do we want to do it this time? And that's when we really considered everything we had learned from the first time around. You know, we said, well, we think we want to do the truck and the trailer this time, and we think that'll be a better fit, and we definitely want more space because we're both working full-time now and we need that room to be comfortable. So that kind of leads us to where we're at now.
This is just in the back of the trailer, past the kitchen. This is my closet area. I have quite a bit of storage space. I have hanging end areas that I can like fold as well. It has a light in here as well. You can see everything when it's dark because it's often dark in there. Having moved into the apartment, I definitely gained more outdoor gear. I have a lot of like winter clothes and things like that, and that's just bulkier and you can't necessarily fit as much in the space. So it's a continuous downsizing. We do still have a small storage unit right now, and so I do have some of my winter like snow pants and winter coat there. And then on this side too is our shower area. Right now we're just using it for storage since, as Matt mentioned, we are driving into town for Planet Fitness. But we definitely have used it on the road as well. It's great. It gets really hot, which I love. And honestly, it's really nice to have a shower once in a while when you need it. And you're like, I just really need a shower right now. I want it. And I've used it. It's amazing. So for us, if we want to use the shower, we definitely have to take everything out, and we often store it in the dinette area or on the bed, depending. So if it's like, we do use this like, especially more in the summer when it's sweaty and we get sticky, we don't often want to go to bed at night like that. And then we do have an outdoor shower as well. So that's also an option. If you want like a quick rinse and you're in somewhere that would work for that, where it's more private, like boondocking, you can do that. But the shower is great if you're somewhere where like you can't get privacy and don't want to shower outside, or it's too cold to shower outside. So across from the shower, we have our bathroom. It has the toilet and the sink. And then this is actually another one of the areas that has tons of storage. The mirror opens up and you can store lots of stuff above the mirror. There's plenty of storage built in. You could even build an additional storage yourself. So this is one of the areas I think we have a lot of storage. It's also where you control the hot water heater. So you can change it either to electric or propane. In the future, we might want to switch to a composting toilet. This is one of the realities, is like dumping your tanks is something you have to deal with when you have the traditional black water toilet like we have. And right now we can last somewhere around 10 days if we're doing dishes, and a lot longer if we're not like doing dishes as well with this setup. So it works pretty well for that, for the amount of time that we end up staying in an area. The 25-foot and larger Airstreams have this split. If you get a smaller Airstream, they have like the wet bathroom that has the shower in the toilet area. And I just really don't like that personally, like having to have everything wet all the time. So that's one of the great features that you get if you were to go up to the 25 or larger Airstream. So if you continue to the back of the Airstream is our bedroom. We have a queen size bed. This is also where Matt's closet area is. Right here, he has both hanging storage and then some drawer space as well. His is a little bit smaller than mine. He has a lot more camera gear, so that's one of the trade-offs that we agreed upon. I have a little more storage space for my clothes. He has more storage space for his camera gear. In the bedroom, we also have another fan. This is one we use a lot of times when it's hot. This allows a lot of nice ventilation. We can also open up 3 of the windows, just like in the front. So we can open up the 2 windows on the side and the window in the back. So we can get a lot of airflow in here between the fan and the windows. One of the best things about this Airstream, the 25-foot that we got, is that it has windows like 180 degrees on both sides. You just get views out your window when you wake up in the morning. You can watch the sunrise. It's amazing. In the bedroom, we do have some storage overhead as well. It has one of the sliders very similar to the other storage areas, so that's nice. And then we did add one additional storage area. It's up here. Our cargo net, that's for the big bulky items. So we have things like backpacks and sleeping bags that don't fit easily elsewhere. So it's been a great addition for us to add some extra storage space. As far as this bed setup, I sleep on the side that would have to crawl over Matt. It is a bit of an inconvenience, is how I'll say it. If we were to go up just 2 feet to the 27-foot, you can get a bed that has walk around on both sides. So if that's a big concern for you, then definitely look into the 27 foot option. But for us, we manage it. I don't usually have to get out of bed, or Matt's kind of just gotten used to getting me things when I ask him. There's quite a bit of storage underneath the bed as well. We store stuff that we don't use quite as often. So we can get to it pretty easily, but it's just an extra step to have to lift up the bed to get to. Here's the control for both the heating and the air conditioner. You can also see the temperature outside. So sometimes I'll wake up in the morning and it's like 23 outside and a nice 60 in here.
Here we are in the entryway to the trailer, and so we've got the screen door here, which is really great if you're in an area where you've got bugs that you don't want to get inside, but you do want the airflow. So we'll often have that closed, but here in southern Arizona, it is super dry and nice, and we don't really have any bugs, except moths at night, but our dog usually takes care of those for us. Above the door, we've got a little LED porch light, which is great because it doesn't draw a lot of power. Up above that, you can see we've got this full-length awning, which is, it's a great feature on the trailer. It folds open and it gives us a nice big shaded area outside the trailer where we can relax on hot days. That's really nice. Or when you have company. We've got one of our rad power bikes here, which is one of the most useful things we have with us, honestly. What we'll often do is we'll park the trailer in the truck and we use the bike to drive down the road and kind of scope out a campsite, because having to back this up if you don't find a spot is a real pain. So the bikes are super handy for that. They're also great if we're close enough to a grocery store or something, we can bomb into town and grab 1 or 2 items without having to drive the truck, which is nice to save gas. And it's also just nice to get outside and ride a bike sometimes, you know, we really like that too. And we can charge them with our solar panels that's totally independent of our Airstream. So it's just like this standalone little kit that we really appreciate. We also really like having the bikes for when we're doing paragliding sometimes, where we have to stage the vehicle and then ride up to a place to launch from. Having the power bikes lets us easily get up to the launch, or get from the landing zone back up to launch to pick up the truck. So they're just super versatile and great to have with us. We really love them. Amanda and I have ridden some rad power bikes before, and they've all been super fun, but these Rad Expand 5 bikes are even better with the folding frame. It makes it really easy for us to break them down and put them in the bed of the pickup truck when we're going out for a day trip, or if we have to drive longer distance with the trailer hitched up. It's much easier, and it also gives us the option to put the bikes in the back seat of the truck if we need secure storage for a short amount of time. Also on the outside, we've got a couple 120 outlets here, which is really nice. I've got some lights that I'll often hook up to the awning when we have shore power, or you can charge the bikes here. There's a lot of stuff you can do with an outlet outside, so that's really handy. So over here on this side, we've got the exhaust and the vent for the hot water heater, and then next to that, we've got this little storage compartment, which is where we keep some tools and, you know, our hitch lock and some of the other stuff that we use on a pretty regular basis. It's just easy to get to, and this does lock with a key, so we don't have to worry about anyone messing around in there if we're away from the trailer. Overall, life on the road really has been extremely fulfilling for us. I mean, whether it was our first vehicle or the Airstream in the truck, now we have this more figured out in a way that works for us and provides comfort and all the conveniences and all the things that we really want. But nomadic life in general for us has just been, it's been really wonderful. I mean, everything that we love about it, you know, the financial incentives, the fact that it's a little bit cheaper in some ways, not necessarily always, but it can be a little bit more affordable. We have the freedom to go where we want. We can avoid the cold weather. We can live in beautiful places and change that up all the time. I mean, it's just really, it's really special. And I think culturally it's becoming more accepted, or it has become more accepted. That's helpful too. You know, I think like people who lived out of their vehicles used to be considered kind of crazy, and maybe we're a little crazy, but in all the best ways. So this is how we pull the trailer. This is our 2021 Ram 2500. We got the tradesman trim, so it's the basic trim. It's about as simple as it gets, although we did get a few upgrades. But one of the things that we did pick for this truck was the 6.7 liter Cummins turbo diesel engine. And we basically did that because if you're towing regularly like we are, the diesel is just, it's such a better decision for your gas mileage and the longevity of your truck. Obviously, pulling a trailer like this is no small task. At its maximum, the trailer's about 8,000 pounds, but the towing capacity of this truck, the way it's set up right now, is close to 20,000 pounds. And so that's kind of a thing that you may want to consider if you're thinking about a trailer and truck combo. My recommendation would be to get a truck that has at least double the towing capacity of the thing you're trying to tow. And that will just ensure that you have a pleasant towing experience, that your vehicle is not going to be getting bogged down or having issues when you're going up steep grades or things like that. Now this truck also has a couple other things that are really nice for towing. It has a tow haul mode, which is kind of like an overdrive, but it basically will hold gears longer and it will downshift for you on downgrades. So it makes driving down steep grades with a heavy trailer behind you a little bit safer. And also with the turbo diesel engine, you get an exhaust brake, which gives you a whole additional level of basically engine braking. It utilizes the turbo to create back pressure in the system, and long story short, you barely have to even step on the brakes when you're going down a steep grade with this truck, with the exhaust brake, with the tow haul mode. And that just makes things so much safer for us. One of the things that we experienced in our first vehicle, the Cortez, was the brakes overheating on a couple occasions going down steep grades. And that was terrifying. I mean, literally the brakes stopped working and I'm pressing on the brakes and we're just going down the hill. So after that experience, we never wanted to experience that again. So much different towing setup. And this truck has just been phenomenal for towing this trailer. I mean, we can pass people going uphill with this setup, which is unnecessary, but it just kind of illustrates the point that the truck has no problem pulling this trailer, and it's just been a dream. We really have loved it. We got a couple other little things on this truck. We got the 4x4 off-road package, so a little bit of a different tune on the suspension. It came set up with a bed utility group, so it's got a spray and bed liner, it's got some utility lighting in the bed. We also have an AC power outlet in the bed, which is great, that I think will do 400 watts AC power if we need to charge stuff back there, run like power tools or something. So one of the other upgrades that you can see obviously is the aftermarket bumpers. We put steel bumpers on the front and back from Expedition 1, which is a company based out of Ogden, Utah. They were super awesome with the installation. And that was a really conscientious decision for us with all the towing we do, mostly because we know people who've hit animals in their vehicles, be it a Sprinter or a truck. And you know, if you hit an elk in your truck, it's going to be totaled. So having steel bumpers on the front means if we do hit something that jumps out in front of us, at least hopefully our truck will be intact. So that's something we've been really happy that we added. And along with the bumper, we added some driving lights to the front from Light Force, which is an Australian company, which is really nice for driving out here on these dirt roads at night. We put ditch lights on the A-pillar area up here, so those kind of illuminate the shoulder of the road. So with those couple little upgrades, I mean, we've been super happy. We're trying to get the truck geared up so we can almost use it independently of the trailer, which is another one of the values of this setup and one of the things we've really appreciated. Our last vehicle was a coach, so it was just one vehicle, which means anytime you wanted to go anywhere, you had to pack up everything in the vehicle, which is kind of a pain. You kind of get sick of doing that. So with this setup with the Airstream and the truck, we set the Airstream up, we disconnect the truck, and then we can just go and do what we want to do, and our home stays stationary. And we love that because we can leave the Airstream set up for a week or more in between having to go and dump the tanks and refill. And we just go wherever we need with the truck. We can go on, you know, more technical dirt roads. We can run into town for groceries. It has been such a nice change from the coach. It's one of the things that we've liked best about this setup. And so we thought it would be an improvement, and it has been. We're just so pleased with it. I don't think I would go back to a coach setup or even a camper van. I think the truck and trailer is like the ideal combo for us and what we like to do. Well, thanks for watching. It was really fun to show you our space here. I am on social a little bit if you want to follow along with what we do. I like to take photos and post them occasionally. So you can find me on Instagram at m.b.swartz, S-W-A-R-T-Z. We'll link that below.
And you can learn more about me, what I'm doing, what I'm up to at amandawinther.com or amanda.winther on Instagram. I have a copywriting business working with B Corp and sustainable minded businesses. So if you are that or know someone, feel free to reach out around that.
You can also check out what I do for work, which is writing for Overland Journal and Expedition Portal. So Overland Journal is our print magazine. We publish it 5 times a year, and it's all overland and vehicle-based travel content. So that's pretty much right up your alley if you're watching this channel. And then our website, which is Expedition Portal, is one of the leading websites on overland and vehicle-based travel, and that's expeditionportal.com. You should definitely check that out too. The standing desk that we mentioned, and for just some really great tips about Airstream life in general, our friend Stacy. You can find her at Tin Can Adventure on Instagram. She's got some really good tips and advice for people who are specifically choosing Airstream as their way to travel. We'd ridden a few rad power bikes before, and they were always super fun and just really great to have in lots of situations. But the Rad Expand 5 kind of takes that to a whole nother level with its folding frame. And it makes our lives a lot easier because we can just fold the bikes down and put them in the bed of the pickup truck when we need to go somewhere.